Hey folks, it's Blake. I just want to show you ProtoModel a little bit and some of the cool things that it can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is on my desktop, I'm going to find my hideously cluttered desktop. I'm going to find my ProtoModel model for a forums tool that I'm working on. And this is a very basic kind of intro kind of thing that we're looking at here. So I want for my forums to have a category. So I'm going to have category name, a number of posts in it, an unbounded set, so I can have any number of posts that I want inside any given category, and whether or not those posts are active or not. For a post, I just want a title, a body, an author, number of responses, and whether or not the post is active. Actually, the other thing that I want to do here, I want to add a written or authored date. So we're just going to call it created date, and we're going to say that that is a date, and I want that to be up a little bit just for the sake of having it up there, and I'm going to make it be required, and that should be good. Same with the response. I want to add a created date, and so that's going to be a date, and we're going to make sure that that is required. Now, one of the things that's going to happen is that the system should fill that in automatically when it's created. It's not something that the user should have to enter, of course. The other thing that's going on here, categories are just kind of general high-level settings. The posts, on the other hand, they are created by an author, which is a reference. And same with responses. There's an author, which is a reference. So one of the other things that we need to do here is we need to create a user, which currently doesn't exist in the system. So we're just going to add an entity, call it user, and we're going to say a user has a first name, a user has a last name, which is a string, and it's required. And we're going to give them an email address, which is also a string, which is required. And actually, if I want to get really fancy, actually I have email as a setting so that I know how to validate it using regular expressions and whatnot, so we won't just accept any old string. We also have just whether or not the user is active. And we could have something a lot more sophisticated, but for now, this is fine. And again, I like to have my active flags hidden. Now, our post, we have the author, and it is now a reference to user. Boom, done. And the response has an author, which is also a reference to user. Now, we could make the user component of either of these, except for that doesn't really make sense. A user can stand on their own and do their own thing, whereas if you look at a response, the response is only a response to something. So the response is a component of post, and the post is a component of the category, because this response doesn't really make any sense without a post as piece of context. So this is a simple model in ProtoModel. Just refined it a little bit. And so now I'm going to show you some of the cool things that we can do with that. The first thing I want to do is save. Yes, thank you. I'm going to do that. So the next thing is I want a database. This is my model. I want to be able to take this and, while this could be part of a larger system for now, I just want to get this into something so that I can have a quick up and running prototype. So I'm just going to open up a command prompt. And I am going to make that window smaller so you don't see my password as I log into my dev environment. And so now I'm in MySQL, and I'll just do a create database forums example. And I will use forums example here. And I have a name for this model already. I'm going to go to File, Export, MySQL. Now, again, this could really use any database that we want, so long as we've written an exporter for it. So it could be a MySQL database, it could be an Access database, Postgres. So you could even do hierarchy stuff, class hierarchy stuff in Postgres. I mean, really, all kinds of stuff. It could even be just an XML file somewhere if you wanted. So we run the exporter, and that's all there is to it. We come in here, we see the form subfolder, and then we have this create script.sql. We copy, paste, and boom. There's our database. We have a category, our post, our responses, and users. And yes, we do have the constraints here. We've added the constraints that that the author is a foreign key to the user table. So we even have all of those constraints set up automatically for you. The primary keys, which again you don't see in the model. You don't need the primary keys in the model, but as part of the logic for the exporter, it does actually show up here that you can see there's the user primary key. For the foreign key references, I've just written this as a super simple MySQL exporter. So I do the base table, and then when I add my foreign key references and constraints afterward as alter statements, it is certainly possible and very easy actually to kind of delay this action so that you can create all of your tables in a proper sequence so that you can have all your referential integrity and everything do it from a script. I just needed something quick, dirty that I could put together, and boom, I get an output. I get a database that works, and sure enough, this is going to be a well-structured, consistent, reliable database that works. So the next step, once I have this database put together, is to actually auto-generate some PHP code, and then once we have the PHP code, we're in business.